right, so welcome to our final session of this four-part series of discussion on The Elephant Vanishes by Haruki Murakami. And today, the title for the session, I gave Sexual Enjoyment, Possible and Impossible. Possible and impossible. And we are discussing two stories where elephants are featured, right? So the Dancing Dwarf and The Elephant Vanishes, the title story, which are both very, so far we've been discussing like one kind of longish story and one shortish story, but here both stories are pretty, Alex, are you focused?
Yeah.
Yeah. Both stories are pretty, I think, dense. So that's why I'm a little bit nervous that we may go over time once again. Yeah, so, so let's do our best to stay focused. So before going into the Dancing Dwarf, I just want to say one more thing about barn burning, where, you know, did you notice how when he appears, the narrator spots the car, and then we talked about the decay that is kind of represented by the, you know, the look of the car and all that. But when he actually enters the coffee shop and talks to the guy is described in what way? Did you notice? I mean, you don't have to look it up. I just wonder.
I remember thinking he seemed to be in his head, thinking about something, distracted.
Yeah. But it actually emphasizes how it's very warm inside. It's almost like the windows are all, fogged up because of the humidity and warmth inside. And he is wearing his coat, his muffler. So in other words, he's presented as this man whose body is, for the lack of a better word, let's say frigid, which we can take both in the sexual sense, he's sexually frigid, but also it's not the healthy body that we're used to by now, with the lawn mowing guy and the healthy body. And the healthy body appears again in today's story because the dwarf, when he says, when I enter your body, but you have a healthy body, you'll be fine. So something about the body that is healthy in the sense that it can exert itself, it can do work, it can labor, right? That is given as the proper premise of sexually enjoying body. So there's that direct connection, right? Does that make sense? So here, so the guy is basically, I think the guy in the barn burning story is pretty much what we would call a man-child. A man-child. He's a man, but he's basically a child who just kind of has his, he explodes in his bad narcissism, the egoistic kind of urges, and he can't contain them. And that's where the story, the movie, the Korean movie, did it so well, capturing that man-child, because when they are coming back from the airport, what does he do?
He calls his mom.
Yeah, he talks to his mother, and the conversation is like nearly obscene. Like you first thinking, the conversation sounds so, like the very few words are said. But it's this feeling of excessive familiarity, and then we later see him with his family going to church, and after church they go out for brunch. So all that, I think the film really captures the character in the story. Does that make sense? So that is, and as opposed to that frigid body, we have the narrator, when he wants to broach the subject of the barn, that he promised to burn around his house, he actually uses the phrase, and I think the English translation is very good, because it says, I braved the question, meaning you don't simply ask a question. He actually makes the decision. The decision always takes the body to, a little bit of the body exerting itself. Without that, you don't make a decision. You just kind of follow what's already given. So in order to ask that question, the body kind of comes forward. So there's the definite contrast between one kind of body as opposed to the other kind of body. And the way he investigates after he hears that, a barn around his neighborhood will be burned, what does he do? He runs the course. He maps out the entire area. And most importantly, it's really, I don't know if you noticed it, while he's obsessed now with finding that barn, and he's working his body in order to find it. He runs, and then he also says that sometimes I was sure that guy was trying to get me to burn a barn. So he recognizes the lure, the kind of seductive power of this violent fury that the guy kind of introduced him to. So in a way, these men children, or these frigid men who are kind of desperate to get rid of difference, get rid of women who represent difference, they are always kind of a lure, kind of kind of mad seduction for even a good man like him. So I think that's a very interesting point to go with, especially the point about how the guy seems most human when he's talking to the narrator, who is as far as we can tell, he's a good, ethical, masculine subject. So in his presence, the guy becomes kind of humanized, and we can say the opposite. In the presence of this man-child, the narrator feels the pull of that aggressive urge. He recognizes what it can do to his body. His body is kind of burning with the impatience to find out what's going on, and he feels kind of invited into the same kind of destructive project, right? So I think that's more interesting than men versus women in that story. It's really two men. It's almost like good and evil, good kind of masculinity versus the bad kind, contesting. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm a little curious why. Because usually when we think of, I don't know, like burning with passion, or with this even like this just like this almost like obsessiveness to destroy, that we not relegate, but call belongs to this evil that we encounter in barn burning. Like we usually think of it as extremely sort of human, like this obsession for love, let's say, for
Right.
maybe in this case he's not obviously wanting to die for someone, but this when we talk about this aggressiveness or something, usually I would associate it with something that's really human, with this need to
Right.
passion and this really heavy desire.
Right. Yeah. So this is why I think we kind of said that the two contradictory, kind of antagonistic figures of the masculine subject, they have a point where they converge. And this is also why I said the drive as such, or the real as such, is neither good nor bad. Right? It is kind of drawn on by the symbolic, the imaginary, drawn on by desire. And then it's the source of the energy. Right? Yeah. Okay, so going to now today's story, The Dancing Dwarf. Okay, yeah. I mean, feel free to kind of go back and forth between the two stories. It's okay. Yes.
I mean, I really liked the setting of The Dancing Dwarf. Because most of Murakami's other stories, they were, in this book, the other short stories were set in, just reality, modern setting, but, this one was in some kind of recently overturned monarchy that's also like futuristic enough to create living elephants, like manufacture them on a factory line. And the thing about the elephant factory, I really liked it because it was like the embodiment of that analogy of the blind men and the elephant, like, you know, touching the trunk, and it's like, oh, it's a hose, and like touching the tail, it's like, oh, it must be a snake, and like, you know, the ears, and it's like, it's a flat creature, like, you know, it's like, it's a tree. But like, the way the narrator still asserts that we all know what an elephant looks like it seemed to even just like strengthen that analogy a bit to the metaphor of the blind men and the elephants, like, because the fact that they go around rotating and doing elephant parts, it seems like almost a parody of like the corporate solution to, you know, how you would fix this problem of people not knowing what a full elephant looks like, when like that's not the problem, like, because they're still working on individual parts. The whole thing seemed like it was a really nice, like, I'm more of a fan of the surface level analysis, like when I first read something, like, but yeah, I really liked how it made fun of like kind of corporate culture and like, you know, manufacturing and like, but the part like the dwarf himself, I don't know, like I didn't really get what the whole thing about the maggots and the woman suddenly turning into like, yeah, no, I didn't get that part, but I really liked the elephant factory part.
Yes, but I mean, Jeremy, you were talking about the symbolism, but what did you said it like a few sessions ago. Yeah. Symbolism. So what were you thinking of?
The which one, the dwarf or the elephant?
Yeah, I don't know. You just said that the story is full of symbolisms.
I did.
Okay, so you forgot. So I mean, obviously, we want to figure out, you know, what is the dwarf?
I thought the dwarf, I already told him on the way here, I thought the dwarf is the penis and that the dancing is the enjoyment, because like we can see that the dwarf is really independent and the dwarf can take over the body. The dwarf can make the host forget about the body, and then there's nothing but the dancing, the enjoyment. And then in the second dream, the dwarf, when he's not dancing, is described, when he's not dancing, he's just like sitting there looking really sad, and he aged by like 2 years, which I think symbolizes like the shriveled penis.
That's so good, actually. I didn't realize that, but yeah, that's really good.
But then like, because like the dwarf, he tries to trick the host into like letting him take over the body permanently. But then like what I can't think about, because like I'm separating the dwarf from the dancing, so there's the penis and then there's the enjoyment. But then like my question is like, what does the penis want? Because like
what does the penis want?
Yeah, besides enjoyment, because like the dwarf wants to take over the body, but then what is the dwarf gonna do with the body besides like, or the dwarf just wants enjoyment. He just wants to dance and nothing else. Because also like there's like this seductive power described that the dwarf has, and like everyone falls in love, and there's like women fainting because of the dwarf dancing,
Right.
and like he even gets called on by the king.
Yeah.
But then again, what is the connection between the dwarf / penis and the king dying shortly after?
Right, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so first of all, bravo, you got the right answer. Because that's the answer that I cannot quite say in a class when I teach it. So I was just like, oh, isn't it kind of obvious? And then, you know, apparently it's not obvious to anybody, so I just kind of end the semester without ever saying that this is the best way to read it. And this is how we can kind of get back to the discussion we had last time. We were kind of confused about why is enjoyment related to castration? We were debating that, remember? This is precisely the answer. Why? Why is enjoyment also castration? According to this dynamic of the dwarf occupying the man's body to enjoy itself.
oh, because it relegates the body.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, when the organ enjoys itself, the subject is sidelined. It kind of is extinguished, right? So, well, that kind of ends our discussion.
Wait, but why does the girl turned disgusting for
Yeah,
him.
so yeah.
I
Why?
guess maybe by that point, because he has not castrated,
Mhm.
like I don't know, like he absorbs the penis back into his enjoyment.
It's like performance anxiety.
Like he like
Okay.
obscenely enjoys, like it's like so excessive to the point that like the body decays, like rots
Oh.
in like but then like because he's a healthy subject, he instead of giving into that like excessiveness, he like rejects it.
Why are the police after him? What's that mean?
I don't know. I don't even think this is right. I need you to confirm this.
For the police,
reading.
for the police, I feel like it would have been a lot easier to interpret if this was written like 2023, because then like the police is after him because male enjoyment is something that's forbidden. But then this story was written way before.
But then
Men are
you
oppressed.
really, did you stay up studying? I mean,
No.
you're getting all the answers correct. I mean, you're A+ for this session. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't know, so like the forbidden male enjoyment, and I guess like with the maggots, I would think about maybe it's kind of like this is like what the man gets after the enjoyment, so he wants to go back dancing maybe. But then, oh, there was one thing that I couldn't really answer. Why is the dwarf so opposed to the host using language? Because that's the
Yeah,
thing that he's not
Yeah.
supposed to use. Like that was
Yes,
really
yes,
confusing.
yes.
Wait,
What is it? Is it about voice? Is it about the voice or the language?
That's
wait.
very good.
So if so
To even see the difference, that's very good. Yeah. Yeah.
if the dancing is the enjoyment allegory, that means like when the guy actually takes her into the hills, that's like after the enjoyment. Maybe the reason she decays all of a sudden is because he's like, you know, it's like he's already in the clarity state. And it's like he's finished enjoying himself. Like that, could that be an allegory, or am I overthinking it?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
in a way, it's easy to think that the story is saying that the woman is death. We can just shift it a little bit and say his reality turns into death. The guy who and he says what it's the dwarf's trick. So he knows that the girl is not death, but his perception of everything around him becomes that of death. And so the question here is not so much why is she death, but rather why does the dwarf want to trick him with that transformation of his perception? What does that do?
So that he wants to go back enjoying himself?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I mean, to connect it back to what Alex was saying, the dancing itself was already an enjoyment. But then the dwarf actually says, when he comes back, he says he doesn't look very, the second dream, he doesn't look very happy. And he says something about what? Being out in the forest alone, my body becomes unhealthy, something to that effect. So in other words, he embodies the phallic enjoyment, the dwarf, the dancing dwarf, but then without the sexual relationship as the condition, in a way, the phallic enjoyment itself becomes reduced. It kind of that's what. Do you follow what I'm trying to say? That's what the dwarf seems to be saying. I need to be with others, he says. I need to be with others. So in order to be with others, I mean, the others, we can kind of go straight to the other, the sexual other, right? In order to do that, the penis alone cannot do anything. It has to be in a man, the masculine subject, right? But by inhabiting the masculine subject, the phallic enjoyment kind of takes a risk. The risk here is named language or voice. Right? That's why the dwarf says, don't say anything.
What does language introduce risk?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it about reduction where
Yeah, yeah.
it reminded me of this this one instance where the example you mentioned was so like a guy approaches a woman and then like he tries to seduce her, but then when she rejects him, he's reduced to the body.
Right, yeah. So in a way, it's language, the symbolic, right? That this is the castration we were talking about. In a way, castration is symbolic castration. You know that, which means we posit this absolute enjoyment which the dwarf represents. We want to believe, we fantasize it all the time, you know. But then because we are speaking subjects, by definition our enjoyment has already been compromised. So the dwarf, his enemy would be the language or the voice, because those are the agents of the symbolic, you know, there's something that castrates, right? So male enjoyment here, so the phallic enjoyment, it's in its pure phantasmatic form is the dwarf, but what the story wants to give us is how male enjoyment is this antagonism between the dancing dwarf and having to or wanting to speaking that actually reduces that enjoyment. It's a constant balancing act. So the balance here is a different kind of balance than the balance that I dislike. I'm going to talk about it because the word appears in the second story. I was like reading that. I think these boys are going to now challenge me.
I was thinking exactly that when I was reading it.
So we will have to talk about that. So you didn't hear us what we're saying. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
I caught the balancing
Yes,
act,
yes.
which is we're gonna talk about in the second story.
Yes. Because he says the balance of.
And
yeah.
unity and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, what about the revolution, the factory, right?
So I guess like one obvious thing is that obviously the monarchy, like these aristocrats, enjoy and invite
Right.
the dancing dwarf into their home, and then want to have that sort of enjoyment within
Right.
their home. But then these revolutionaries, who are obviously like the opposite of aristocrats, and then I guess we can get into that. But like these revolutionaries chase out the dancing dwarf
Right.
and try to kill him.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my god.
Moment of.
So the revolution was like liberalism basically, and it kills male enjoyment because that's what happened in real life.
But I mean, that's what I thought, to be
no,
honest.
Yeah.
it's a really smart allegory
Yeah.
actually. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so think about it. First, that enjoyment came from the regular, let's say, working class. Because he was just dancing at a bar
Oh my
with
God.
factory workers, just, they would gather. And then, before the dancing dwarf, they were watching who dance? Women. And young women. And then when the dwarf appears, the women cannot compete with him. He's better. So this is where you kind of see this fantasy of phallic enjoyment, the full absolute enjoyment is magical. It's magic. It's better than seeing a young woman dance. So there's that symbolism, allegory, right? And then the ruling class becomes jealous, envious. So the court invites him in, and then the women faint watching him, and the king drops his whatever he's drinking out of, and and then that's when, which means the royal institution, the monarchy, is in a crisis, right? It's now, it cannot handle ruling anymore. It's completely taken over by jouissance of right? And then that's when the revolutionary force emerges, and what they want to do is to get rid of that enjoyment, which is, we don't even, of course we can talk about this in the more recent context of our history, but this is really the modernity and pre-modern, you know, monarchical system. So modernity as such, I mean, this is why Freud says something about, you know, the Oedipus complex, it feminizes enjoyment. We can say the same thing about sublimation. It feminizes, it's to, reduce that wild, although still it's a phantasmatic enjoyment. It's not real. It doesn't actually exist. This unadulterated, uncompromised, total enjoyment nobody has ever seen. We feel we can trick ourselves into believing that, oh, that's what it is. We do that, but that's really how fantasy works, right? So in a way, this is actually a question of modernity that is going against the male enjoyment, and which is represented by the factory. Yeah.
I said it was like an allegory for the blind man and the elephant earlier, but like I think it still is that to an extent. But like it also connecting with the theme of like the dwarf being like a representation of like the phallus. Like, could it also be something like about the organs like separated from the body? Like I don't remember what the exact terminology was, but yeah, it's like it's the organs without a body, basically. Like
it's like what Deleuze and then Zizek kind of flipped it around. Yeah. So I mean, enjoyment is always this kind of partial enjoyment. It's always that's why when women complain that men objectify them, which is completely true. You desire a woman by objectifying. That doesn't mean you think of her as an object. It's more that you pick out a certain something about that woman and then turn that into the object that you desire, right? So it's always partial. Desire is partial, and from that partial desire comes this enjoyment. So what you're saying is related to what we were saying about castration. Castration is a symbolic castration, meaning when you enjoy, you kind of disappear as a subject. Does that make sense?
So I guess, but that enjoyment is in the way that like an infant would enjoy.
Oh, infant.
An infant. I wouldn't say like hasn't gone through castration, but hasn't. Like the autoerotic sort of enjoyment where.
But then that's tricky, because which enjoyment is bigger? Is it the enjoyment before knowing something, knowing in the sense of knowing with your body, of castration, or after? Right?
It's like there's like forepleasure as well that's introduced when there's like genital organization.
Yeah, right.
And then that also heightens your enjoyment.
Exactly.
And then there's like a climax to genital organization that isn't there in autoerotic.
Right.
But I said that because if we're enjoying in the sense that we're completely enjoying with our body, that means like we don't enjoy as like a subject that belongs into the symbolic world. Then it feels like to me that's like a limitless enjoyment of the body.
But that doesn't exist. This is what I'm trying to say. That doesn't exist. Nobody can enjoy the body without first being a subject. So that's why you're kind of going back to the infant. Yeah. But then that infant enjoying, that's not jouissance in the way we want. That's pleasure, yes. Not that I've asked any babies,
I think there's also like something to do with like the elephants. Like, they say like they make elephants now because elephants are born like only like they're born too slowly, so we need more elephants. But like, I think like, in the sense that like this has to do like a lot with like masculine enjoyment. Like I think it also like is trying to say something about how like, because an elephant has to be born and like raised to be a proper elephant, and yet these people are making elephants out of a factory and insisting that it's just as good as the real thing. Might also be like kind of an allusion to what happened to men like through the process of modernity, which is like the factory. And like the reason I thought that was because there's a line about how the trunk is the hardest place to work at, because if you accidentally block the trunk, like the elephant can no longer breathe through its nose and it gets mad and it goes on a rampage. I'm like, wait, is the nose like, is the trunk like a phallic symbol and it gets blocked? So the elephant gets mad. And like, could that be, and like, is this like also like trying to say this is one of the symptoms that could happen like because of what's happening to men? But like, I don't know, maybe I'm going too far with this, but the idea's been planted in my head, so now everything looks like that to me.
I mean, I don't think it's wrong, no? Yeah.
I thought that also is really interesting because like the reason they're even building those elephants in the first place is because they say they love them so much, but the elephants don't reproduce fast enough. So we take one genuine elephant, cut him in 5,
Yeah.
and then build other elephants. So like each elephant is only 1/5 a
Right.
sincere
Yes.
elephant.
Yes.
It kind of sounds like castration in a sense, I think.
Cutting?
Yeah.
That's going
Maybe
a
like
little bit too literal, but yeah.
like no, like because like they're not genuine elephants. They're only 1/5.
So, first of all, what's important we need to remember is that the elephant factory has been there always. It's not the product of the revolution. The only thing that revolution has done differently is the surveillance system where things are much more, regulated. So the factory has always been there. In a way, we can think of it as, why elephant? First of all, we need to also ask that question, but the elephant kind of represents nature. And humans have always tried to mess with nature. So the factory, even when you were just playing with fire, back in the days, or cavemen, whatever, that's technology, right? So the human relation to nature has always been this kind of technological kind of messing with what is given. So that is timeless. And the reason for technology or technological development is so simply and so well given here, which is what humans are impatient. Like, we can't wait for the fire to, get going, so we have to produce some other means of making fire, all that. But then we don't want to get rid of this sense of nature. If everything is artificial, let's say we just produce 100% artificial elephants, somehow people lose interest. So these artificial elephants have to have some nature in them to make us excited. Isn't this really the definition of how we relate to technology? We always want that, what we call authentic, the natural. So I think this is really great because it's almost like what we have today is already what the result of this getting flipped over. It's not the same logic anymore. So we have this general modern logic still going, but I think the way we practice today, technology, and we view nature is already very different from this. I don't know. Did you?
No, that's what I was gonna make a comment, because I thought, like, now, I always use the term, but it's like I feel like we're at a point of like obscenity where like we don't. I don't know, like before, like futuristic fiction, like I don't know, let's say like Blade Runner, like the robots would be human, like human looking, and then they could interact, and then they would have to determine whether they're human or not based on their eyes or whatever. Then now, like I don't know what a good comparison is, but I don't know, like like in Alien Romulus,
Mhm,
like the remake thing.
Yeah.
They're not worried about having to recreate these androids. I forgot the actor's name.
Me too, yeah, I don't remember.
But the old guy,
Yeah.
like he's no longer needed to be this human.
Oh, right, right. The guy from Alien.
The first alien,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
You know the android in the first
Oh,
Alien.
the guy that gets beheaded.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
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 I forgot his name.
Yeah, the wires
Yeah.
sticking out. Yeah. Anyways.
But
Yeah.
I forgot the actor's name
Yeah.
too. But like either
Yeah.
way, like he like in
Ash.
the Ash. Yes. Thank you. Oh, I hate
Right.
that. But like he shows up as like this robot, like unflinchingly, and then now we're not even worried about needing to disguise
Mm.
these recreations of dead people as like authentic. We just say, oh, it was created by AI.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm almost thinking sometimes, I don't know, I don't feel bad if you're doing this too, although I doubt that. But sometimes I'm so mesmerized by what excellent presentations students can give. Very fluent. And they speak almost like a news anchor woman or anchor man. You know, they're just like so practiced. I can never do that. And then I look at their exams and not good. So this makes me wonder, what's the gap here? Why is it?
Is it because of the script, or because of AI planning, or because of rehearsal?
So what I'm trying to say is that it's no longer just getting ideas from AI or ChatGPT or whatever. They actually speak like the machine.
Hmm.
They do not like these pauses and failures that come with the human body. They are completely flawless, as if they practiced all just that for weeks, which probably not true. They're just very good at. I am looking at evolution of the human species there. Like, wow.
Isn't it a de-evolution?
So I'm just like, do you think they're just very good and I'm kind of being unnecessarily suspicious of the AI impact here?
I think it's also like the difference between having a script and having bullet points to go off your presentation.
Right. Yeah. But then, yeah, I mean,
But I think there's something there. I disagree a little bit in terms of
yeah.
them copying AI
Uh-huh.
in that capacity.
Yeah.
I think they have actually rehearsed it really well, and
I see.
they're just like natural speakers.
Yeah.
But like 50%, I'm willing to bet like half of them actually do
Yeah.
just take it from AI and then
Yeah, yeah.
regurgitate it. But forgetting my line of thought.
AI can make entire PowerPoints now too, so like.
Yeah, that's
But
what my student
I
did.
guess my point is not so much whether they are using AI. That's actually secondary. It's just that their sensibility is very machinic.
Hmm.
No,
Do you
but
see what they think that minor mishaps or little pauses, it seems like they think they were able to kind of exclude all those failures somehow. So I'm talking about the sensibility, not so much whether they're stealing from AI.
Like being nervous and like
Yeah.
stuttering and like fumbling sometimes. Like
They
those-
don't do that. They're
Mm.
like completely flawless.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that like I just feel like people like are no longer comfortable with being like I don't know uncomfortable with
Right.
like
embarrassed.
not knowing what they've learned in the
Yes.
semester because
Oh,
like it's like a semester long course, so like obviously
You're
we're
not
gonna
get all of it, yeah.
learn it and then we're gonna forget it, or
Yeah.
like we're gonna half learn it and then we're gonna like radioactive decay, like we're gonna half learn it again and again and again until it becomes nothing.
Like carbon date my memories.
Like I don't even think it's like I think it's our fault, but like I don't even think it's our fault in the sense that AI has made it so easy for us to understand
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
No, but that's not understanding
Right.
anymore.
Yeah,
It's like
of course.
it's like the daily learning equivalent of what you just said about taking a semester long course. Like you see it, you're there, but you don't retain any of it. Like that's what's happening. Because back in my day, like
Oh
if you want to do a presentation or an essay, you Google it. You Google the damn thing, and you go through a bunch of different articles, and you like piece together. Okay, so this is what this means, and like you look on like second opinions of it by going on like Reddit or Quora or whatever, and they talk about it, and you're like, okay, this might be that. But now, people don't even use Google anymore. Like so. Yeah, I think this happened with us. Like, one of us were talking about like, you know, what kind of file does like the video of a Sony camera come out as? And I was like, and then you were like, let me look it up. And then you're like, hey, okay, so ChatGPT says, and I'm like, what do you Google it? Why are you asking ChatGPT?
But I don't know. I'm even hesitant to say that. That's why I'm hesitant to even like critique, you know, like these like kids that I'm tutoring with, like obviously they're like engulfed in AI now, and like I can't even blame them because that's just the way that they are learning now. But like,
But I think it's night and day scrolling through.
I
Like,
think it's
a
like
Wikipedia
dawn
page.
and night.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Dawn and night. Yeah.
Like it's not even like just a matter of like nitpicking. It's just like even Google, like I don't know, like WebMD, like you know when we're looking up like symptoms, like, oh, you know, like I have like stomach pain, cancer.
I've never
First
used
thing
WebMD. By the
is
way.
cancer. I believe it, you know. But then now these kids are probably looking it up as well, like, oh, I have stomachache, and then like maybe ChatGPT is smart enough to like not say cancer right away because it's already become a thing. But they'll be like, oh, this and that and that yada yada, and then a doctor would be like, oh, like maybe this is wrong, maybe this is right. But there's like the ambiguity that like even Google, I think, by the point that we like indoctrinated Google into our lives, that ability to be comfortable with that ambiguity, that just
No, but the difference is when I say Google it, like you're not using Google, you're using the stuff that comes up on Google, so like Wikipedia, Britannica, whatever, and like all of that is like they're not ambiguous, they're very accurate, and they source all of their findings, and it's like okay, so this is fact, I get it. But like now, just use ChatGPT, and it's like you can never know if that's right or wrong. Like if you don't use anything else, that might be 100% bullshit, and you'll never know.
Yeah,
So like
sure.
I started here 12 years ago or something like that. So at that time, for the next 3-4 years, I was like, if you copy from Wikipedia, I will know, you know. And then fast forward another 4 or 5 years. I'm like, can you please read Wikipedia? There's a lot of information there.
They need to change that about high school, by the way. They always say don't look on Wikipedia, but
yeah, that's what they said.
Wikipedia is awesome. They have all the sources down below as well,
Yeah.
and you can like go and then go directly to the source through a hyperlink, and then you have like it's such a good tool.
Yeah, I mean Wikipedia's gotten better.
Yeah, yeah.
I think.
I mean, it's
over the
always been
years.
pretty good. I think it has gotten better. I think because like
Yeah.
they got more like systematized, but it was always pretty good.
So, I mean, to come back to the difference between the kind of modernity that the story gives us and our contemporary civilization, it's kind of, I don't think postmodern captures it either. It's something else right now. It's AI modernity. I don't know. But anyways, is that why is it that, and think about it, why is it that you know, the revolutionary force wants to get rid of the dwarf? I mean, in a way, we can say that because the easy answer is that because it doesn't want, the regime doesn't want you to just have fun all the time. It wants you to work, right? And we actually see the main character being very well disciplined, and yet he also knows still how to enjoy. This is where he sticks out. So he says that it's very rewarding to work on the was it the head of the years. He's in the year department for this. So the year department, it's very rewarding job, blah blah blah, and he feels like at the end of the day he feels like he has accomplished something. So in other words, he's a very he's a model subject who's working hard and he enjoys his work, but at the same time, he's the kind of person who would, when there's a very pretty girl, a new girl appears, everybody has already given up, he would go there that day to talk to him.
And lie his way.
Yes, yes, he would, exactly. And then he says, I want to go dance. No frills. So complete truth of how he desires this girl. So that kind of is the answer to his own question to the dwarf. He says, "Why me?" at the end of it, which is the same formulation as the man in Barn Burning, when the guy says, "I don't tell this story to anybody, but I'm telling you." And why me? You see, when something like that repeats, you get the idea of Murakami's textuality. It's not just one story thing. It's some kind of order of the world that's emerging. So you have that definition there. So anyways, so
Also, I think because like the girl thing kind of stood out, especially if you compare her to the a lot of women these days. Because like he just came over, she knows he's from somewhere else. You can tell from like what he's wearing, the color, and that he violated the rules. And just to like talk to her, and then she rejected him, and then he was like, "Oh, you like dancing? Well, I'm gonna be there as well." And she didn't report him or anything else, despite violating the rules. I feel like these days, he would have been reported, and she probably would have been like creeped out, for like, "Oh, he's gonna come dancing," then like she won't go then because he's there.
Reported for stalking, restraining order.
Yeah. I mean,
Cancelled on Twitter.
Cause like, she likes to dance, and despite not wanting anything from him, and she knows that he's there, she still goes ahead also like enjoying herself, despite him being there. But I feel like these days she would have not gone dancing. I think she would have reported him and
or
then not
come
go
with
dance.
other girls.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm hesitant to agree with that.
Oh, okay, tell me. What?
Just because like we defined it now as like a safety thing for women to go with other women to like these like clubs or whatever.
Oh, I don't know this story. Is this news item?
No. It's just like women wanting to go with. But like no. What
I mean,
I
if
was
you want
gonna
to be really
say.
safe, should you not like just not go to a club?
But I don't know. I don't think so.
I think everything in life is about like risk management,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And like, if you're so worried about safety, like to the point that that's your excuse for like going to a club as a group, like, don't go to a club. Go to a cafe. It's like what? But like, that's just personal opinion. I don't go to the club anyway, so I have no like any like. Stakes in the matter anyway, so like.
So I mean, in that case, then it would just be all men in the club.
No, but that's what I'm
It
saying.
doesn't
like,
serve your interests as well.
Yeah, no, but like what I'm saying is like. No, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing for women to go to clubs and groups. I'm just saying like, why would you say that it's a safety thing? Like it's just like a.
No, I was actually implying that she would, the kind of girl that you were kind of describing, she would show up with other girls in order to kind of, I don't know, to kind of show him that he can't have her or something, as a form of kind of a strange aggression, that I don't like. Yeah, I don't really like that.
But I like her because like she doesn't let him being a creep deter her from enjoying. I think this makes her really stand out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but what I wanted to say was that in a way, although we already talked about the dwarf being the embodiment of phallic jouissance, complete, total, blah blah. But he needs a woman, right? He needs others. That's what he says. That's why I'm shrinking, because I don't have others around me. That's why. So in other words, the premise of the story is that the phallic, jouissance still needs woman, others. So that is what I find to be very different from the culture of pornography or romance literature, not literature, let's just say romance,
Smut.
Yeah. But anyways, so the point is that there, in a way, the phallic jouissance that we know to be fantasy here is actually, it's become realized. So when you get rid of woman as this difference, you end up with the dancing dwarf as a real thing. not a fantasy.
Mm.
So this is what I also kind of meant last time. What was the phrase we said? Domesticating the real, something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't remember.
I think you said
Yeah,
domesticating the real, yeah.
Yeah, or managing the real, something like that. And
But I think I get what you mean.
Yeah. So there's that. The real is no longer that radical. It's
Oh right, yeah,
you can kind of pay for whatever, and then you just get it.
What do you mean that by getting rid of women, the fantasy, the dwarf becomes real?
Yeah, because when you have a woman, the dwarf, you sense, at least, whether you know it or not, you sense its phantasmatic status. It's a fantasy. Because when you're actually engaged in the sexual act with another body, you cannot not experience more physical sense of castration, this compromise, this shame of being naked in front of another body. In order to get that enjoyment, you have to go through this, this awkward, the process. So castration comes as part and parcel of enjoyment when you're with another. But when you're not with another, you actually believe that you can just buy that enjoyment, the total enjoyment that's not corrupted by the presence of another. Does that make sense, Moritz?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So then, like for the woman, like in this story, who sort of like rejects all the men's advances and sort of like, cause the man here, he feels a need to seek like the woman, and then goes through that the giving up of the body to this phallic jouissance in order to gain that woman. But the woman, like when she dances already and she sort of enjoys herself without anyone else, she doesn't need to give her body up for another in order to have that sort of, it's like feminine jouissance.
I think two levels. I think that definitely is the second deeper level. At a more basic level, she is what used to be a kind of feminist figure. Why? Because she's like, oh, you guys are all just objectifying me, so I'm just not gonna deal with you unless someone really good comes along. And someone really good comes along, and she's all game for it, So do you see what I'm trying to say? So she understands how male desire works, and she's not complaining about it. She simply decides that this is not what I want to do right now, but she doesn't close it off as a possibility. And when the possibility comes in a way that she likes it, she goes for it, right? But
I was just curious why it is that, like, this antagonistic force of like this dwarf is so compelling for women. Like we talked about it for the men, but why is it for the women so?
Yeah.
I guess it's up to us to decipher.
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, both men and women are all fascinated by this fantasy of absolute enjoyment, except that men are much more likely to fall prey to that fantasy because they have that kind of unity of desire and jouissance. You go straight from your desire, objectifying a certain part of a woman, and then you enjoying it, and then that's your sexual jouissance. There's a certain male jouissance, but with a woman, because that's not all she has, she's fascinated, but in a way, not to the extent that a masculine subject would. So here, but then, why is magic so magical? Because magic is magic is the totality of the enjoyment. Magic means you, of course, the magic in the way Robert Fowler talks about it in our book. It's a more theoretically advanced discussion. So I'm just saying magic in the way we use the word magic. Why is it magic? Because all the differences that kind of compromise enjoyment kind of fall away, and then you just have the thing, the force. There's a oneness of enjoyment, power, everything kind of is like a ball of coherence, magic. And perhaps for the same reason why, men's desire is more unified and women's not, for that very reason, perhaps women can fall with much more force for that kind of magic, because they were going to kind of run away from the division that is constitutive of their subjectivity. That's possible, yeah. But who can resist magic?
Yeah.
Everybody wants magic.
So I guess these revolutionaries introduced this disenchantment, I guess.
But in a way, because disenchantment gives rise to this fantasy, which is the weird thing. Because disenchantment means the world has become disenchanted, which means you are even more likely to fall for the magic fantasy. And I'm sorry, it's not that linear and logical. It is logical,
No,
but
but
it's complex.
yeah.
I guess it makes some sense, because like before the revolution within the story, there's no example of the dwarf directly taking over someone's body in the story, right? So like I guess in that way,
True,
it becomes
true.
all the more easy to
True.
fall like completely into fantasy when like the world around you is trying to like I guess what do you call it? Like cleanse, like sanitize.
Mhm.
When the world around you, the more it becomes like sanitized of fantasy, the easier it is to like fall hard into it.
Mhm.
Which like I guess because before everyone just really liked watching the dwarf dance, but now the dwarf can just like live inside you and take your body. So like there's like a difference.
No, but that's also why they are so the revolutionary regime is so alert, in terms of they're still looking for that door, because they're worried that it's gonna come back and right. So yeah. So why this guy? I mean, the modernity. It's really funny when the dwarf first appears in his first dream. He says, "Let's dance," and then what does he say in answer?
You see, he's like tired.
Yes, he says, "I am too tired." It's a very kind of bedroom talk.
Oh.
Do you watch movies? I have a headache, whatever. So that's what's going on here. And then, but then by the time, by towards the end of the dream, because at first the narrator notices how the dwarf actually, he has no idea which jacket goes with which vinyl, so everything is all mixed up as he's dancing. He's putting on music, right? Towards the end of the dream, he himself is putting a vinyl into the wrong jacket, whatever. In other words, he has kind of been touched by the enjoyment, the disorder of enjoyment. It's kind of, and also when the dwarf keeps telling him, "You're gonna come to the forest and dance with me," and he says, "Because it's determined." And he asks, "Why me?" And because it's decided. You're gonna come and so this lore of this other kind of masculine way of enjoying is repeated here, just the same as in barn burning. And yeah. So go ahead.
No, I guess that's why we talked about like the man-child
Yeah.
of the other
Yeah,
of the evil
Yeah.
in barn burning
Yeah.
just now.
yeah.
And then it's like a I guess a dwarf.
Parallel here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
paral-
I think so.
Like
yeah.
a dwarf is like
Yeah.
a small man.
Yeah, except that because the dwarf is really given as the embodiment of the subject, he's more the real figure. He's not a subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the lore, I think, is the same in both cases. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So now, shall we move on to the next story? Is there anything that we missed in the first story?
Maybe the rotting of the woman.
I think
We didn't really talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
The maggots filling up the woman.
Ah,
when they have
yeah.
sex.
Wait, what did you see about the maggots filling up? There was something about.
if the dwarf was smart, he would have just like turned the girl into like his mom or something. 'Cause I think that would have elicited a vocal reaction no matter what. Like, no, just saying from a realistic standpoint. If you really wanted the guy's body, like putting all the symbolism aside, just turn the girl into his mom. Like that's the one thing that you.
You know, based on what we read this semester, what Freud would say to that is that you are actually saying that you are attracted to your
No, but I'm saying like. In terms of just like put all the psychoanalysis aside, like just like the narrative of if this guy talks, I get to keep his body, so I have to make him talk no matter what, and I can transform his perception to whatever I want. Why are you filling the girl with maggots? Just turn her into his mom, and he'll say something.
So
don't even
he's
know how
saying
to
the
reply.
opposite. But you're saying basically you wouldn't be able to deal with it if
Yeah.
it's the mother, so you would just kind of
Yeah.
scream or.
I would be
react.
more scared if the girl in front of me turned into my mom than
Yeah,
if she
yeah.
started rotting.
Oh,
That's
especially
basically what I'm saying.
Because to get rid of the illusion, he actually kisses the girl because she knows it's a
Right,
fantasy.
right.
So
You can't kiss your mom because that's like recreating the Oedipal fantasy, and you can't do that. So it's turned into his mom.
So then why? No, maybe you know what?
Yeah.
I'm warming up to that because it feels like like with the Oedipus complex, like you know our desire is like for our mother yada yada yada. I'm saying that very cheaply, but my point is like if the dancing dwarf is like this ultimate like fantastic pleasure that we like are driven towards. Then why is it not, let's say, like the mom that is what she turns to, and instead like decay and rotting?
We can
Wait.
almost say that the death image veils over the mother. It's very possible.
Wait, is there?
I mean, if Murakami read more Freud, I think he would have made the girl his mom. What am I
No, but
saying?
she's like,
That would be too. Yeah, but that would be too. That would be completely lacking in art.
Oh.
This is in a way, I mean, because when you actually get to the core of your fantasy, what awaits you is your total destruction.
Oh.
There's nothing but death.
So am I the only one thinking about the refractory period?
What period?
Refractory period. He's basically saying like the reason the girl starts rotting is because I had this idea too, because like the dancing is already enjoyment,
Yeah.
so like it's done. So like now it's the refractory period, so
Yeah.
you can't get enjoyment out of the girl anymore.
Yeah. Also, you talk about
what is the refract?
It's
post
when-
after you have sex. It's like
Yeah, once
the
you,
girl-
like-
Why are you using some scientific word suddenly? What's happening?
Because I can't say post nut clarity. It's too cheap.
Yeah, that's what that's
Yeah,
what it's called.
Yeah, but like that's what I wanted to say. But like yeah.
Okay. So.
Because
Yeah.
refractory period sounds smarter.
But he hasn't.
No, I searched it on. I googled it.
Oh.
But he hasn't orgasmed.
No, but the dancing is the enjoyment. Like if we're talking in terms of the symbolism.
Because we mentioned about the
It's
what
like-
was that the down like the negative sides that we have to face before we get the enjoyment, and I think this is just I'm not gonna say last, but one of the enjoyments that you have to face after like having some encounter. like you said about like dressing naked and face everyone about.
Yeah, I said that. Okay.
And like that is something that you would also have to face in order to get the full enjoyment, like after having, no.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna be completely crass and say like whatever that comes to mind, like I can also say like the first scene where the dwarf is dancing, there's a lot of focus on like the sweat flying from him, so like that could also be symbolic of ejaculation. That's why I prefaced with if we're being completely crass. Should we move on to the next story?
I mean, I guess it is a valid question. What's the difference between dancing and sex, the actual sexual act? So we know that yes, it's like dancing was let's say it's the enjoyment which doesn't take another body. So in a way, the man and woman are both kind of autoerotically enjoying in the dance scene, but they do consume this act where they kind of have to be subjective suddenly. So in a way, when they're dancing, there's no sexual relationship. It's almost like you're enjoying there, I'm enjoying here. But when they come together, this is where they're actually being human subjects. And that comes with, at least for the guy, comes as the signal of castration. This is why I said it's not so much the girl turns into death, it's his perception of reality is that of death.
The perception, the death, or the castration, in a sense.
Yeah.
Also, another odd thing is, like, I'm pretty sure the dwarf said earlier, like, if you can go all the way with the girl without, making a sound, like, I'll let you go, but if you don't, like, I can keep your body. But he gives up when he kisses her. It's like, is that?
There's no, in a way, we don't get to see consummation, right? I mean, in the literal sense. And in a way, I mean, at least Murakami's later stories, there's a lot of sex. So it's not like he's trying to be metaphorical, he's just, reticent about it. So we can actually read meaning into it, why does it stop there? We can read, I mean, but then again, this is an early story, so maybe a lot of sex that appears in his novels and stories, maybe it's more later kind of trend of his work. That's possible. Yeah.
Attack on McDonald's.
Okay, shall we then?
Yeah.
The Elephant Vanishes.
Yeah.
The titular
Elephant
story.
Vanishes. I mean, I just love this story. I sometimes imagine this is a question. If you were to be confined to some kind of isolation, like on an uninhabited island, or I don't know, what books would you take with you? I mean, this is definitely one of them for me. You never thought of that?
I have, but with movies.
No.
Yeah.
I always think in a practical sense, so I'm thinking, like, did Bear Grylls write a book? Because like, if
He
we
would bring his book.
No, because if we like uninhabited
Oh,
island, practicality
okay.
is what I'm saying.
Like,
But in terms of entertainment value, like this and like Don Quixote basically are my two picks.
Really? You include this?
Yeah, like I think they're on the
okay.
same level because like my previous go-to answer was Don Quixote because I like that
Okay,
book a
okay.
lot. But I think this is on almost a similar level.
You read the entirety of Don Quixote?
Yeah, Don Quixote is a really good book. Yeah.
It's really long.
Yeah. It's okay if, movies of course. But if the island comes with a DVD player, yeah.
I don't know. I think I would bring. Actually, because my favorite Murakami like shorts, maybe even after I read this, was his After Dark.
Okay.
Those were my favorites.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think the one book that I'll bring that recently I really liked was In the Distance by Hernan Diaz.
Oh.
But that was a book that I really liked that I would bring.
From which when did this book come out?
Recently, like in the 2020s.
Oh,
I
okay.
think he won a Pulitzer.
Okay.
I don't know what the
Pulitzer or Booker?
something like that,
Yeah.
like the book awards.
I think like hot take. I don't really like those literary awards a lot. I think they're kind of vapid.
Okay. Anyways, what is your favorite movie anyway?
Oh,
I mean, I think it's very difficult
That-
to answer. I mean, yeah,
Maybe-
it changes all the time for me.
I don't know. I really like Tampopo.
That's random. I didn't expect that. Okay.
Meshes of the Afternoon is one of my favorite shorts.
Oh.
I like the Coens' Burn After Reading. I think that's their best film.
Okay.
My
Okay.
favorite movies are any Tarantino western. Like those are really good.
Like Django.
Django and Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight.
Okay.
I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood could be
I don't like
Western.
that one that much. I think that's the worst Tarantino movie.
Okay. Well, I have a lot to say, but let's go back to the story. Yeah. So, what did you think of this story?
I really like The Elephant and the Old Man. Like, cause I would just love to be a 70-year-old man living alone with an elephant. Like that sounds like a dream life for me. It just seems so peaceful, especially if
Yeah.
like me and the elephant have like a 10-year long bond like that. That sounds like it just makes me feel really comfortable. I like the story in that sense.
So I was imagining like Jeremy, like you know Jeremy's question with the letter.
If he's sleeping with the
Oh my! If he's sleeping with the elephant?
Oh God, no.
I mean, no, not in the literal sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, you cannot literally sleep with the letter either. So let's just say.
Yeah.
So the point is
I
like,
was thinking that they were
Yeah.
having something like between the old man.
Oh, but it, like
feel
even
like
if
though.
if
Yeah.
they did, like it feels more like the kind of thing between like a very aged couple.
Yeah, because like
Very Asian couple?
Very aged couple.
oh my God.
sorry.
no, but it's not so. We do not know. That's the mystery. We do not know their relationship. What we know is how the narrator, perceives.
It changed his reality fundamentally, I think, because he even started smoking again. There was something very troubling him. He quit like 3 years ago, and he can't even.
That's right out of Camus.
Which one?
That's in the fall, where there's a line, like I thought of my friend who had quit smoking, but after the nuclear,
he started
bombing, he
smoking
started
again.
smoking again. It's exactly. I'm pretty sure that he was reading Camus around this time.
Yeah, because I think many of the stories have some shades of Gammy's.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Because like it's also contrasted that the disappearance of the elephant and the keeper wouldn't change a thing in the world,
Exactly.
but yet for him it's so troubling. Like I think he's experiencing the limits of language. Yet the woman is pressing him to put it into words, and like for her, like it's like a really clear-cut case, being like, oh, so the problem is with you, but then
Right.
kind of not really recognizing him for him like struggling to communicate
Yeah.
this, but like, and he wants to share his view, but I don't know. I think he's like really encountering like some sort of limit, but I don't know what he can't even say like what changed exactly, except for the fact that the balance between the two changed. But even then, she keeps on pressing like, are you sure it's the balance? Was it that? Like she just wants like answers, but he
Yes.
doesn't have answers.
Yeah. But does she remind you of any other character in this the story that we haven't discussed?
The second bakery attack?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
She
that's
does.
second big.
Yeah.
But
how
that
so?
woman was a lot more likable. I like the woman from the bakery attack, but this one, I don't know.
But like they have the same probing qualities.
Yes. They think of the in both stories the male character they cannot really articulate what they want to share, Why is it they are having trouble?
Because I feel like they can't really put their finger on the thing, like what exactly. They themselves don't know what's troubling them.
Exactly, but why then is it important to them, right? Like in this story, why is this story important to him if it's something that he doesn't even know what it is that's really affecting him?
I thought it's something about the real. I thought in my notes I wrote down that the zoo, the disappearance, because like the city is confronting the real, and the real doesn't fit into the symbolic. And like the journalist writing this article, he's like describing everything around it, like the details are vague, there's missing details, the elephant escaped. Like he's finding all those like words to like engulf the real, but like you're unable to
Right.
point it out
Good.
directly.
Good.
I guess like that's why it was like he constantly points out that it's not something that you talk about in the first meeting with like, even if she might understand, and I think she does like understand like the weight of it for him, but like it just doesn't belong in this like discursive world
Mhm.
that you have to occupy when you first meet someone,
Mhm.
especially like say when they call it a date.
Mhm.
So then it has to be like date language.
Right.
So then this story is kind of like I don't think she dismisses it. I think she just realizes, oh, there's nothing we can do here.
Yeah, I mean the fact that he wants to talk about it, knowing rationally he knows this I shouldn't, but then just like the husband in the other story, like he's like immediately kind of regretting, so he wants to stop talking about it, and the woman is on it already. She wants it, so he ends up telling more and more in answer to her questions. And it almost turns into a sort of a interrogation. So he passively answers these questions, but the fact that he has no language for it, and yet he has this urge to talk about it, that's why he ends up talking about it, it has something to do with his fantasy world. It has something to do with fantasy. Fantasy, of course, it partakes of the real, so there is the connection. So, I mean, what is intimacy in the end? You know, when you're intimate with someone, that simply means that not that you share your fantasy in any, transactional way, but you have that kind of assurance that you can enjoy that, right?
I think that's where the difference comes in between the two women from the bakery attack and then this woman, because the bakery attack, I think she kind of like, she joins in on the fantasy, where then she actually makes the two go together, like she initiates it, but then this woman just finds the story about this elephant, his fantasy is so bizarre that she kind of like rejects it. And I feel like her bringing up her cat is more of like a courtesy thing, where it's like socially like expected, but she isn't actually like open to the idea, whereas
Yeah.
the other one, she fully makes it her own almost.
But that's, I think, don't you think that they are kind of two contradictory reactions to the same thing?
Yeah.
I felt like it was the difference between a woman who doesn't own a shotgun and a woman who does. I'm pretty sure if this woman also had a shotgun, they might have gone looking for the elephant. Just like, hey, we should go find that elephant.
So, I mean, I think her position is to kind of extinguish, kind of get rid of this uncertainty that forms around this fantasy. So she wants the full story. So is this what happened? Is this what happened, or is the sequence of and is this what you mean? This is her method. So in the end, she kind of accomplishes that aim, act, the goal to like, oh, it was just there's nothing we can really talk about this. In other words, it's a kind of form of dismissal. It's just non-important. The other woman does exactly the kind of opposite. She makes his kind of failed fantasy, right? Because the failed fantasy being he was with his friend and they wanted to stand up against the capitalistic, world, and they refused to work, they really wanted to steal something, rob or whatever, which is an act of acts that exceeds the regulatory world. And it failed, and then she was already giving him an excellent interpretation, but the interpretation was magical. Why? Because she said, what was the word? Like, you are cursed.
Mm.
So we have to exorcise that curse.
Right.
So she's using magic, the idea of magic, but in a completely rational framework. In other words, you were cursed, so this is a transaction, so we have to give it back, then you'll be free. So you see what I'm saying? So something very practical. It's just like, the female character in When Harry Met Sally, Meg Ryan, she's like, women are practical. And it's kind of like that. So, because they have this discussion about Casablanca.
Yeah.
Because Ingrid Bergman went with, the Czechoslovakian, the revolutionary leader, rather than the cafe owner, Rick, American. And then she says, of course she would go with the future political leader because women are practical. Don't you find it funny?
No, I mean I found it funny, but when I listened to it, when I watched it, I was like, oh, I guess it's just like 80s feminism.
80s feminism. Oh, okay. Yeah, but then people don't want to be told that they're practical. They don't think of it as a compliment, do they?
Yeah, it is seen as I'd say 70% of contexts, it is more of a dig at the person's qualities rather than a compliment.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I thought practical as in pragmatic. Are those two different?
I think they're different.
I mean, pragmatic sounds more like you're aware that you're making that practical choices. Right? I mean, practical sounds a little bit dismissive. Like you do not have the, I don't know, you're not poetic. Right?
I mean, they talk about pragmatism when they are figuring out what to do with the elephant in the beginning.
Right. I mean, so it's I mean, they mean the same thing, but I guess the way we use these words, a little bit more dismissive when we use the word practical rather than pragmatic. Pragmatic sounds already calculated, which means you thought about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But in any case, so the wife in the story, she kind of takes the husband's fantasy, and she makes it her own thing, and then she has a complete interpretation and then remedy for what she thinks it was a curse. But here she almost shoots him down before he has the whole story, because the whole story he'll never have, but he wants to have some fragments, bringing together fragments. But every fragment, it feels like she destroys at every juncture. Did you get that idea?
The second bakery attack, that it felt like when we talk about femininity, the pragmatism that we're talking about, the practicality that we're talking about now, that we attribute to her, and the way that she tries to make his story belong into the symbolic world almost. It feels like the opposite of what we've been talking about in terms of femininity.
Yeah. So that's related to, so I would almost say that, the girl, I'm using the words that Murakami is using, the girl, the elephant, and the monster, the green monster, are on one side.
Which girl? From
the girl of the barn burning, or the girl, there was another story where the girl of the last lawn, where the mother mourning in the girl's room, so the girl, elephant, and the monster on the one hand, and on the other hand, cat. Yes,
What?
because she says, once I lost my cat,
Ah.
my cat disappeared. But also, if you remember,
Oh,
the Tuesday's women, right? The wind
the cat
up bird.
disappears.
The
Yeah,
cat
the
is
cat
the
disappears.
problem.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Why? So what is the cat in relation to these other figures? The girl, monster, and the elephant. We kind of read, the elephant too. Kind of here, the elephant. Did you think? I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. I'm more worried about the time. So here, you guys with the monster story, you kind of assume that the monster was male, and then we kind of towards the end of the discussion, perhaps it's not, right? Or I kind of brainwashed you. But with the elephant, did you kind of determine the gender?
Male.
Oh no.
I thought it was a male elephant.
I did, but like my immediate perception would be that it's a female elephant.
That's what I thought.
Like the skin level, just feeling somehow like that feels.
The way that the elephant like
Yeah.
pats the
Yeah.
like in the back.
The elephant.
He thinks it's male, which makes sense.
Because like the elephant didn't care about the
'Cause he's-
ceremony.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I'm gay.
Yeah.
Ah.
Why not? Because there's tremendous
sense, that
affection.
makes sense,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's affection. It's affection between them. There's something sexual that the narrator is perceiving.
It
in
would have
their
been really
relationship.
awkward if I said I thought it was male.
I'm sure I would have gotten out of it somehow.
The one thing, like, because like there's the elephant, he's kind of like nonchalant, like the inauguration ceremony when he arrives, and
Right.
him just kind of like being chained up, but then he's just like they're really calm.
Yes,
he
but-
seems very, because I don't know, there seems like something very masculine about the elephant.
No, it's because of the size. You think it must be. It's a massive thing, but the descriptions. I mean, if you have seen close-up photos of the elephant's face, there's something very feminine about them. Very
The
long
lashes,
eyelashes,
yeah.
and and
Can't tell
The face is a little like
V
tight.
line. I don't know what I say.
Yeah, and the mouth kind of has like this like constant
Smile,
smile
kind of,
on
yeah,
it. Yeah,
right,
There's
yeah.
something feminine about an
Yeah,
elephant's
something
face.
very gentle, although they can run.
yeah.
If you watch
very gentle.
National Geographic, they can run. Geographic. But anyways, here one thing that's said in description of the elephant that reminded I hope also you guys too reminded me of something. So 313 says. So the second to the last paragraph, the bottom line, it says, where the keeper had indicated to take up its new position and continue staring at a point in space.
I found the staring very masculine, because like I don't know, he wasn't occupied. That's why.
But like staring is something that women do a lot in this book.
Yeah, in this book.
Yeah.
In this book. So we've seen that in the story A Window, where she's seeing the time flow. What's
Yes.
funny?
No, like I was just thinking about the first paragraph where you were like, this is where Murakami gets criticized a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
After my husband left,
Yes.
maybe at some point I will think of something.
That's the monster story.
Mm.
Yeah, there she's also staring outside, just staring at the garden.
Mm.
So there's something that's how I kind of pick up the cues for reading the gender of
Okay.
this creature.
I was just thinking about Attack on Titan.
Why?
Because I was thinking that the elephant is such an empty figure in a way. And how it disappears is.
Oh, because they evaporate when
Yeah.
they. Yeah, I get it.
And
Let's not talk
they're
about that
kind
though.
of
We're
like-
gonna,
yeah.
we're
I
gonna
don't
get
know what you're
sidetracked
talking
again.
about. Okay.
But
Do
I
you
mean,
know what they're talking about?
I think it's an anime
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
with the giants,
the,
right?
Yeah.
the man remind. If we're gonna go to like different things, the man reminded me of the character in Rear Window.
Oh, you
The
went.
man
Rear
was,
Window?
the main character.
Oh yeah. He like has a broken leg and he just stares
Like
out
he
the window.
Oh,
stares.
good. Yes.
Oh, the protagonist kind of reminds me of him though, because like he's the one.
That's
Oh,
what
that's what you're
I'm
saying.
talking about. I'm
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then but the woman, Grace Kelly, she reminds me of like the wife in the second bakery attack.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Right? She gets all excited and then right.
The woman.
Are you talking about a movie?
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
Stanley Kubrick.
Hitchcock.
Wait, no, Hitchcock. Yeah. Why did I think it was Kubrick for a second? I watched it this
Yeah.
semester.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so in terms of so if it's so what because if you think about you have to remember he's being voyeuristic. You know, he's just watching this couple without their knowledge. You know, the elephant doesn't know.
Hey, but the elephant acts differently when it is not being watched as well.
Yeah, and the description there is just so full of love. You know, they don't display this affection when they're with the public. When they're alone, they become playful.
But it also said because like the playfulness itself, it's not like they're doing anything different. He
Right?
said,
Yeah.
but like there's something about the energy that changes. It kind of sounded like when they were shrinking that their balance was when it was changing that they were entering in like a different realm.
Right. Right. So there, the balance means not have some balance in your life balance. Right? Balance here is precisely the same. I would think of it as synonymous with difference. Because the difference kind of sustained as such, and that difference is kind of changing its shape. So the balance that we were talking about last time is closer to unity that they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Unity as the logic of consumer products. So
I just see a line like there's no reason I don't like her. Like
you don't like the lady?
no, the narrators say that after talking for 20 minutes, I don't find any reason not to like the lady.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, this works.
His mind is going in
Yeah,
the other
my
direction.
mind goes everywhere today.
Yeah,
I really related to the protagonist on a surface level because I often have this issue where like I'm talking to girls like I'm vaguely into and I bring up stuff like Epstein Island because like that all interests me so much. So like somehow the conversation becomes tangential to like conspiracy theories and I'll immediately start talking about like MK Ultra or like Jeffrey Epstein or like like how Michael Jackson actually died and like and they're all just like
There's a theory on how he actually died.
yeah because like there's a theory that he got assassinated basically but like it's neither here nor there.
So, and then how do these ladies react?
They
Like
either
this.
react badly or they just become friends.
I don't know which is
Which
better.
might also be reacting
Which
badly.
is worse.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of relate with the guy in the story. I'm totally the type that would talk about like random stuff like an elephant. Just
Yeah.
I wanted to ask why. When you said I think it was in the first session when you said, Professor, about how like the elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But
What
you
was the context?
no, I don't know. But you said the term elephant in the room.
Oh, that's just what people
No,
say.
I remember. But it like
But I love how this, like, you know how I said the first story we talked about today is like an allegory to the blind man and the elephant? Like, this one feels like an allegory to the literal elephant in the room phrase, except it's a reversal on it, because it's the elephant not in the room. And it's like, but it's like still
I love
the
this.
topic that occupies, like, that preoccupies not just the protagonist's mind, but like the public. Like, because there's this whole discussion about how there's like a political discourse on what to do with this elephant. It becomes the literal elephant in the room. I love how
Yeah.
Murakami does that with like.
Yeah, but the elephant in the room is called that precisely because isn't the implication that everybody sees it, but they
Don't wanna.
yeah, they act as if. I mean, that's kind of I mean, at least partially that's relatable to the real kind of. So when the elephant vanishes, it's really funny how, I think Moritz already talked about it. Like, there's no way you can reasonably explain how this thing has disappeared, and he's the kind of guy who actually gives us three possibilities, or it was a newspaper, I guess. But anyway, he's the kind of guy who would make a scrapbook with all the elephant-related articles and photos, and then he's the kind of person who would also read his newspaper back to back, cover to cover, while making toast, having coffee. I mean, you just want to be with this guy all the time. This is the, I mean, isn't this why you guys kind of admitted that you had kind of a man crush at the,
Yeah, I didn't get the woman at all. Like, if a guy started talking to me about like, I have this theory on how an elephant disappeared, I'd be like, you tell me, like,
Yeah.
you have to take me home, and like, I'm just gonna listen to you all night.
Yes, yeah. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know why people would not want to entertain this. I mean, I understand the regime needs order in the world, which means you can't let people, follow these stories too closely. But then, yeah, I mean, what was I going to say now?
There's also a really interesting segment, like a really short segment in this story, which is about like the kitchen versus kitchen
Yeah.
thing.
No,
the
kitchen
verbiage.
versus is a Japanese
Yeah,
word
Japanese
for kitchen
word,
versus
yeah.
kitchen, the English word, yeah, which is like Freud has a lot to say also about America. He really disliked the country.
Oh.
It's culture.
Wait, Freud said that?
Maybe Freud would become a little more popular now.
So, but then that's like the consumeristic kind of they don't think of the word kitchen as an English word per se. I think it's more kind of American word. There's because it's always any word is not culturally innocent. It has the cultural background that supports its use. So there's that. But I also like the idea that in the previous story, it's the dwarf really tells the guy, it's decided, you are going to dance. Here he says, well, he was the last one to see the elephant before it vanished. So something about this character, this narrator, being like a kind of the anchor for something that's disappearing. The last witness, the last desiring body who has the capacity to actually have a relationship with a woman.
Wait, I have a question. So if we see the vanishing of elephant, of people just give up on observing the elephants, like people tend to like totally ignore the existence of elephants, since it was said that it was impossible for the elephant to exit, right? So
Right.
If we just say that, they just refuse to see the elephants.
Right, yeah, they refuse, I mean, see the elephant, what do you mean, see the elephant?
Like they consider it as absent, or like they consider it as vanished, because they refuse to see it.
You mean, now it sounds like science fiction. Are you saying that the elephant is still there?
Like,
Schrodinger's elephant.
Like they refuse to see it, because I was thinking that Alex said they behave differently in front of people, and
Yeah, the
and
story
they're-
says that, yes.
yeah. so I was like, and then it was described that after the elephant vanishes for several months, like the grass are growing, and the birds are like flying, and they live in the elephant's house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nature, right? And so I was
Yeah.
just having that logic of like the absence of the how to say it, the social or
Mm-hmm.
the point of view of other human beings towards some relationship as the keeper and the elephant leads to a more natural like development of the relationship. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, nature is another fantasy, because nature has never been left alone without the human subject.
Yes, so like since the elephant is impossible for the elephant to exit
Yeah.
the house, it's impossible for any couples nowadays to reach the nature like as fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, because what I'm trying to say actually is that, in a way, nature is, in a way, not in any absolute terms, in a way, nature is easier to handle, subjugate. What cannot be subjugated is this sexual difference thing, the condition of the subject. It's something that you cannot simply just domesticate, or so that used to be nature. Okay, you can just do research and develop technology and handle it, but the human desire is something it just cannot be, which is not so much the case today. But anyways, what?
I have a really sensitive question that might not make it to the cut, but like, so like, say nature is easy to subjugate, but sexual difference is something that's really difficult. Like, how like, so transgender and like transsexualism has always like kind of been there, just like within like people, because like, some people, like whether it's developmental or genetic, they've like there were always people who felt out of their own bodies in terms of gender.
Right.
But the fact that we now have hormone therapy and surgery and whatnot, like is that like man's attempt at conquering sexual difference, or like is this something that's like?
I would say so.
Oh.
I would say so. Well, what do you think? Isn't this really our effort to? We give different names to different.
But that's
Sexual-
gonna be the
sexual,
same effort in the green little monster as killing the girl. Like you're gonna be more alienated in a way.
Yeah. But then we do not. These people with non-normative or minority sexual identifications, we have to acknowledge the fact that they need to speak. But in terms of how it's done, how we are using language and medical technology, whether, at the bottom of all that, there's this urge to get rid of sexual difference, I think there's definitely a big possibility of that urge. Yes. Because sex has been difficult for everybody throughout, at least in modernity. We fantasize, isn't this why people, people talk about this actually, I don't want a boyfriend, I just want to have a healthy, but I go to the gym 5 days a week, my body is perfect, I just want to work, I don't want, sexual relationship, that to me sounds like that. They want to get rid of sexual difference, because then they will be completely efficient. Right? But then when you're efficient like that, whether you can still, in the traditional sense, whether you can still call yourself a human subject, I'm not sure. Not only that, they're never going to get it. It's their fantasy.
But
they fail.
I feel like let's say like a trans person like does hormone replacement therapy and all that. Isn't that the opposite of efficient? Isn't that like literally mangling and dismembering and then reconstructing your body? in order to fulfill, obviously, like we talked about this, how like trans people are like the proof of how we relate impossibly to our body, and like these people will go through these measures in
Yeah,
order
right.
to
Right.
fulfill that, which obviously will never be enough.
Yeah.
But it isn't obviously technology has allowed it to happen and allowed it to like maybe like streamline it so that we can fulfill it bodily, but like the process of going through it bodily, isn't that the most inefficient sort of method to fulfill this fantasy?
I think that can be argued. Yeah, I guess what I meant by efficiency is this kind of, in the sense of meeting the pre-given kind of quota, right? It's like already the program is already set, and you're kind of checking off the boxes. That kind of efficiency. So whenever you turn to your body, it's not going to be efficient, as you're saying. But we get the fantasy that it is efficient. Like, like Kim Kardashian looks like...
Beast.
Incredible.
No.
Two completely opposite opinions.
That was a really great moment.
She is, to be honest, I don't even know what she really looks like, but based on what I've heard, I mean, perfect creature. So it looks like she has achieved some kind of method of efficiency,
Oh.
right? So she just needs to. You showed me that what she put. It was some other sister,
Oh, Kylie Jenner?
Yeah, something around the eyes or the
Eye fuck surgery? That's also very popular.
No,
I
you
what?
said exact amount of.
Oh, her breast surgery.
Oh, the breast.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. Anyways, the exact amount of the chemical that I went into.
The comment. Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay. Anyways, so that looks like a form of efficiency. You know exactly what is necessary to maintain the perfection. But then, just the other side is this total chaos, because the body you can never subjugate. You cannot ever know your body. So in a way that the efficiency creates this disorder that is maddening. I'm really curious. Maybe it's kind of cruel to Kim Kardashian. I'm curious what she's going to look like in 20 years.
They're revolutionizing facelifts these days, though. Like, they're getting
And maybe
really
she
good.
will remain the same.
But unless you
Probably.
can reverse cell.
Probably you think.
Like a god.
Okay.
Because Kris Jenner looks like her, looks younger than her now.
No, but if you can't reverse like cell aging, then eventually your skin's like fundamentally like at the cellular level, it's gonna break down, no matter what you prop it up with.
But what about the age reversal with like what billionaires are into?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who
Did you see the guy? Have you seen the guy?
the guy who extracts his son's blood and
Yeah.
puts it into his own bloodstream to become
Yeah.
younger.
But like what I think like they've been
Stop
working
doing
on
that,
this
though.
for like
Oh,
way
that's
way
good.
longer. He just makes a public stunt out of it.
No. So I actually almost admire this project that he has this project, but his life.
It's like-
He never goes anywhere. He's just kind of confined in this home laboratory. He takes pills instead of food.
Oh yeah, Crystal
Yeah.
Palace.
I don't know. Is that a life?
I think it reflects the common philosophy of how immortality is hell. Just
Yeah, I mean,
can.
whenever this topic comes up, I think always students that I like, they always like, that sounds like a nightmare. The other students seem excited, but anyway.
It's like for Kim Kardashian, she once said like if she could be 18 again and like give up everything she has and be 18 again, she would. I feel like for her, something being young
Yeah.
and youthful is something different than it would be for that billionaire guy. I don't know what he wants to do with like.
So what does she do with her youth?
It's a product. It's something that she sells or that she used to like sell products.
So I think he also sells supplements.
Yeah, he does.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, he also has his podcast.
So
and
this
that,
all
but-
comes back to capitalism, late stage capitalism, and how
Because it kind of reminds
everything
me
is about class and wealth.
of like, I mean, people generally say like society's very ageist these days, but like within the gay community, they say like once you're 30, you're basically dead. Like, cause like you're like really undesirable. Like, cause like, I kind of reminded me of that, but then like I know there's something when you talked about like youth and possibility, and but I don't know if it's about that for him. I don't know what
Who?
that billionaire guy
Oh,
with the
oh,
son.
Yeah, I would like to, if I want to be generous to him, I would think of this as a really kind of not only scientific but kind of epistemological challenge. Is this possible? Immortality.
Because like for Kim, her face is her brand, her body is her brand. But like him selling supplements, it's not like, oh, this handsome guy, which he is not. I want to buy his products.
Yeah, but for her to look that perfect all the time,
Looks fine.
I mean, for his age, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, he isn't really what would people would consider like beautiful.
No, but he does look young for his
Mm.
age, and like that is the product basically.
you mean the billionaire?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it? I don't think he's a billionaire. I think he's
He's like a
a
million.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not a billionaire.
But he looks sick.
Yeah,
Yes, he
that's what I
looks
mean.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do not know. I cannot imagine people who care so much about their body being able to have sex. Because sex is disorder. It's in invasion of the body.
I mean, they literally thought that way in the past, where like semen retention was like an actual medical practice.
Oh,
where
that
you're
yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah.
But I'm just talking about because it's about appearance,
Oh.
especially. It's you don't allow any kind of disorder.
Mm.
They are always picture perfect. If that's that's what their identity and their commodity, what they're selling and all that. I cannot imagine her as a sexual subject.
Yeah.
Maybe sexual object, but not sexual subject.
That's what people also say online. Like she's beautiful and like she's like the perfect body, but like she's not sexually charged. Kim Kardashian, like her.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody's
it's,
sexy, no one is horny.
yeah, that's precisely what we come back to.
Is it just like just massive self delusion then? Like what's going on? How
No,
can
but-
like everybody be like, oh, you're so hot, and like at the same time the consensus is like what? That she's not a sexual.
But
Like
is there
what?
any relationship, like similarities between these and the TikTok thing?
TikTok thing.
Everyone's sexy, but no one's horny. It's like scrolling TikToks, like, oh, you're sexy, oh, you're sexy, you're sexy, but nobody wants to be horny. It's like they're scrolling the TikTok, like just the information or hormones just flush your brain and makes you like unable to be horny.
I think people want to be horny, though.
But they're unable to do it.
I don't,
It's
but
like people
I-
want to be intelligent, they want to think, but they cannot do it.
like I think it's easier for us to like dismiss these people, like Kim Kardashian or whoever, as like delusional or like even like
No, I'm not saying she's delusional.
No, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think it's easier for us to dismiss these people as like people that want to.
Should we
I think
wrap
should
up?
cut it
Yeah.
off a little
But it's
No,
such a
earlier.
why? No,
conversation.
let's finish this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last time we were here for 2.5 hours. It's go ahead. Yeah.
I was just trying to say that like it's easier for us to dismiss these people as like people that like are uncomfortable or like people unable to like let's say like be like be subjects like but what I'm trying to say is like I think these people are being genuine. Like they're not trying to affirm themselves into any sort of. I mean, maybe they are, but like there's no like real sense of artificiality when they are trying to transform their bodies up to a certain point, maybe. But like I feel like they're trying, like they're not being true to themselves, but like they're literally affirming everything that we wish to do. and like, because they have the money, maybe they are able to succeed in it. But either way, like I think they're living to their their true selves. Like, they're being completely genuine.
They're fulfilling their fantasies, and since they're encountering the limits of being able to fulfill the void, is that what it kind of sounds like that to me?
I think like this is harsh for me to say, but like this is just coming from my viewpoint. But like I think if I lived a life like that, where it's just like fulfillment, I think the only natural conclusion to that would be suicide.
But like, I think maybe it's because I don't want to reach that conclusion, but I think the ultimate conclusion to that kind of thinking is to believe that trans people are not really like trans people. Like what they're doing is an act. I mean, like an act, not in the sense of like we're all acting in some sense, but like an act as like a conscious act that they're embarking upon. But like I'm like, I have to completely reject.
No, but
that
like
notion.
with the Kardashians, there's a financial incentive, obviously, but like for transgender people, like you can't really put it on the same scale.
Of course not. Of
Yeah,
course
the
not.
body
Of course
modifications
not.
of the Kardashians and the gender,
Yeah, of course
affirmation
not.
therapy.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's a difference because like transgender people don't get like government stipends from affirming their gender.
Yeah, they get the opposite.
So like, so there's no like motivation there beyond like I need to be more comfortable with myself. So, like that's like genuinity is basically.
But don't you think that's what Kim Kardashian is doing as well?
I think
a
to an
certain
extent, but like you can't say it's like 100% that because there's so much money involved.
Yeah, I mean, but then I see, Eric, your point is you're trying to identify a certain kind of subjective logic that we can apply across the board,
Mhm.
not just, just because she makes a lot of money, she's different from, so I
Yeah.
understand that. Now, then the question, if we were to exaggerate it a little bit to go faster, the question then comes to, is there such a thing as ethical subject versus unethical, right? It comes to that.
But
So,
I mean,
yeah, how
yeah.
do we answer that? Yeah,
I guess-
I'm actually asking a question. I mean, not that I'm not ready to say that when we say Kim Kardashian, we're of course not talking about her, but it's that kind of mode of existing in the world, which a lot of people.
Her mode of existence, is it like very hedonistic?
I don't know if it's hedonistic. That's the show. Yeah. So I'm not ready to say that that's an unethical subject or anything like that. But then, would I think that there is a certain kind of ethics that I would like to propagate? I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Right? So where is that difference? One only thing I can, at a very, very minimal level, I can say is that if you can pause between your one action and the next, if you can pause, you cannot do what she does. In other words, it's in that pause, the void of your subjectivity comes up to confront you. And when you know something of the void of your subjectivity, it's very difficult to continue that experiment for so long. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
So she's giving herself not a break.
In a way, yeah, to put it very simply, that rhythm of ceaseless production.
I guess because like our constitutionality, of our body, like Kim Kardashian, like obviously plastic surgery was accessible to her, or maybe that's why she approached it. But either way, like the constitutionality of the way that she grew up, or
Right.
like the contingency of it, like was inevitable, and she obviously was led to this point where she had to embark on this experiment of like
Right.
plastic surgery.
Yeah.
And like it can be said. I mean, it can be said as well with like trans people who, when they're born and they grow up, they grew up knowing that this is not the body that they belong to.
Right.
So they need to, affirm their, maybe like their castrated like gender, like like it doesn't match or whatever, and like their body and like. But my point is like maybe that act of pausing
Mm-hmm.
is like something that maybe I wouldn't say like escape this constitutional contingency, but like it's like it's deliberate. It's like one of the only sort of like deliberate acts that let us sort of choose.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, exactly. So in especially with younger people, like in their early teens, and they are already have this confusion about their gender identification. That's still a different story. I think once you turn 18, just I don't know, you can be 19, 20, but whatever. In a way, you have to take responsibility for what was inevitable. You see what I'm saying? We all have to. Our existence is something that we did not choose, and yet, being an adult means precisely to take responsibility for what you didn't do. So that's one point. That another point. This is from The Fall by Albert Camus, where he is like a super successful guy. I mean, this character. He's a lawyer that works for the good cause, so the orphans and widows. This is his specialty, and he's living such a full life. He's dancing all night. He has many lovers, and everybody loves him. And then he says, in one night, and then his health kind of had a bad moment, and then suddenly all that collapses, like everything starts leaking. In other words, nobody gets to, no matter how you're endowed or deprived as a matter of contingency as a child, and then you grow up, you have to live with the consequences. Everybody, because they have a body, the pause, as I call it, comes to you. No matter, so even with Kim Kardashian, I doubt that she doesn't have these moments when the void opens.
Of course.
So what you do when that happens determines whether you're on a kind of ethical path or not. What you do at that moment when the void opens. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, I have nothing against. In a way, she's very likable. Kim.
I like her.
So.
I like her more than like The Rock, at least.
The Rock.
Yeah,
Why
Dwayne
The Rock?
Johnson. I just don't
The
like
bald-
Dwayne Johnson.
Big guy. He was
The
a wrestler.
guy. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you were talking about another woman.
Because
Okay.
like they have the same like
Oh, I see.
they have a
yeah.
similar like philosophy when it comes to their celebrity
body,
status,
yeah,
where it's
yeah.
just the body
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Because like I thought he was all about like being like a sincere like that dude,
No,
he's so
but
chill.
that's a
he's
sincerity.
funny.
That sincerity came after like his exposure because of like just his figure, and that sincerity is like has been outed as being so insincere like so often nowadays that like I just hate him now.
But I guess that's also what happens in the story
How so?
when
Yeah.
when the people
Mm.
move on from the elephant vanishing.
Right. Yeah. So what's really moving here is he says, when he first talks to the woman, he says, oh, it's all about unity. He's selling the stuff to her, but she is the one who says what? Do you think really everything has unity is such an important concept? So she kind of questions this kind of selling point of unity. So she kind of implies that she knows better, or she's more into what is not so calculated, and yet in the end the way she deals with the story proves that she's precisely looking for unity
Yeah, right.
of the
That's,
story.
because like that's why she was demanding answers and like
Yeah.
everything had to, because they had to fit into this unity.
Yeah. So exactly. So at the end, what the protagonist, our narrator says is that after the disappearance of the vanishing elephant, he says, I would begin to think I wanted to do something, but then I would become incapable of distinguishing between the probable results of doing it and of not doing it. So in other words, he thinks doing or not doing is not all that different. And he says he continued to live in this world, but with the after images of that world, meaning he's in it, he's speaking the language of unity, but he's doing it as if he's kind of hallucinating. It's not his. Moritz, you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, no, because like, it was interesting how like action and inaction coincided. I mean, okay, this doesn't take place in a space, so, but it did remind me of the heterotopia. I just can't forget about it. Like, where owning and losing coincide, action and inaction
Yeah,
are not
yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
And then at the very last line I found really interesting, which was I think in contrast to the ending of the dwarf. So it says like the elephant and the keeper have vanished completely. They will never be coming back. But then the dwarf was saying like, I will come back, don't worry.
Right.
I don't know, like,
Yeah. So the dwarf is, as I said,
yeah.
it's a phallic jouissance, which means it's kind of always there because people fantasize. But what has disappeared with the elephant is this fantasy of sexual relationship, which is different from phallic jouissance. Okay, so so now we have to wrap up. I'm looking at the camera. So the thank you so much. It was we just for the audience, we have to say that we kind of came together just out of our our desire to have a dialogue, to just discuss these stories that we all really liked. And so, we've said certain things that may not be completely, politically correct or whatever, but our purpose here was to have a dialogue and not be shy about our enjoyment of the dialogue as well as the stories. And I think on that point, I think we've definitely delivered.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I don't know how educational this is going to be, but it's going to be somewhat entertaining at least.
Education. I have to be educational. I'm a professor.
Oh yeah, no, your parts are educational, but like I'm talking about us four.
But anyways, so so this is summer 2025, and I wish you all a wonderful summer. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Hopefully war doesn't break out.
Oh, no.
What do you mean?